All right, everyone, it's time to get ready for our linear equations test. So we're going to take a little bit of time and go through our practice test. Question number 1 says to examine the data in the table. And it wants to know what is the slope of the line that contains these data points. All right, so first thing, slope is our important word. And if we look at it, our formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So there's our formula for slope. Now we can choose any of the points in this table. I'm going to pick this 14, 0 because I like some nice positive numbers. I'm going to pick 8, -1 just because it's right beside it. Again, it doesn't matter which 2 points you pick as long as they are from the table. So I'm going to actually write these as ordered pairs, my x and then my y, my x and then my y. Now, one of the things I always recommend that people do first is go ahead and label your points. This is my x from my first ordered pair, my y from my first ordered pair, my x from my second ordered pair, and my y from my second ordered pair. Now that I have them labeled, I'm going to plug them into my formula, go ahead and substitute those variables in, and simplify. So my y from my second ordered pair is 0, minus the y from my first ordered pair is -1, divided by my x from my second, which is 14, minus my x from my first, which is 8. So we are going to look at this two ways. We'll look at with a calculator and without. So without a calculator, let's go ahead and simplify. Minus a negative is the same as plus. So this is really 0 plus 1, which is 1, and 14 minus 8, which is 6. So our answer here is D, which is 1 over 6. Now, the other way to do this is by looking at plugging this in as a fraction on the calculator. So in order to get a fraction, I'm going to do alpha, y equals, and number 1 there, it says n over d. That's numerator divided by denominator. That's a fraction. And I can type it in exactly like it is in my slope formula. 0 minus -1. Remember the negative is at the bottom in parentheses next to the enter. Over 14 minus 8. And we press enter and we get 1/6, which is the same as what we got without a calculator. All right, our next question, number 2. It wants to know what is the slope of the line that passes through the points 4, -7, and 9, 1. So I'm going to label x from my first, y from my first, x from my second, and y from my second. And again, just remember your formula for slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now my y from my second ordered pair is 1, minus my y from my first, which is -7, over my x from my second, which is 9, minus my x from my first, which is 4. Again, remember minus the negative is the same as plus, so that's really 1 plus 7, which is 8. And 9 minus 4 gives us 5. So our slope there is 8 over 5, which is B. Again, you can do this with the calculator. If we do alpha y equals, that pulls up our choices for fractions. Number 1, and 1 minus -7 in the numerator. And the denominator is 9 minus 4. And we get the same answer we just got of 8 over 5. Now, number 3 just wants to know in which graph does the slope of line L equal 0? Well, if the slope is 0, we had a little saying that helped us remember this. Our Voxhoy. Now remember, H is for horizontal. This O or 0 is for a slope of 0. And the Y tells us the equations are going to be written in Y equals a number format. But the most important part here is it tells us the slope of a horizontal line is 0. So in answer choice D, we have this line L. This is a horizontal line. Our slope of that is 0. So our answer is D. Now, number 4, it wants to know the slope of this line shown. In order to find the slope, we need to find 2 points. So we need to see right where this line goes through our grid lines. here is a point, and here is a point. Now you could do this in a couple ways. You could go ahead and write down those ordered pairs and use your slope formula, or we could do our slope triangle as we call them. So to get from one point to another, we're going along the roads, along the grid lines. We're not cutting through anyone's backyard. We have to stay on those roads. So to get from this point to the next, I start and I'm going to go up one space. Up is in the positive direction because it's going toward the positive numbers. From there, I turn and I'm going to go left 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Left is going in the negative direction because it's going toward all the negatives. Now, when we do our slope is our change in y over change in x. The y, there's our y-axis, that's your up and down number. The x, here's our x-axis, that's your horizontal number, your left and right. So our change in y here is 1 because we go up one space. Our change in x is negative 4 because we went left 4. So the answer that matches up with this one, even though I have the negative at the bottom and they have it beside it, that is still the exact same answer. It doesn't matter if the negative is at the top, the bottom, or beside the whole thing, as long as there's only one negative there. All right, number 5, we have another slope question. It wants to know what the slope of the line that passes through these points are. Or what the slope is. So x1, y1, x2, y2. And again, our formula, I'm going to write it each time. That's going to help me remember it better and make sure I plug things into the right spots. My y from my second ordered pair is 3. Minus my y from my first ordered pair is 5. My x from my second ordered pair is 7. Minus my x from my first ordered pair, which is 4. So in my numerator, 3 minus 5 gives me negative 2. And in my denominator, 7 minus 4 gives us 3. Again, we could use the fraction in our calculator and go ahead and use that to help us so we don't have to worry about those negatives and everything. And that's just up to you. Question number 6. Given a line with a slope of 3, how does the graph of the line differ if the slope is changed to 4? Okay, well, we could actually look at a graph for this one and see that visual. So I'm just going to draw a little graph here. All right. And I'm going to have both my lines start at the origin. I'm going to start with a slope of 3. A slope of 3, that's really 3 over 1. That's going to mean I'm going up 3 and right 1. A slope of 4, that's really 4 over 1. That's up 4 and right 1. Okay, so let's start with our slope of 3 first. So from my origin, I'm going to go up 3 and right 1. I'm going to go up 3 and right 1. I want at least 3 points on that line. Now, I'm going to do this again with the slope of 4 and see how it changes. So again, I'm going to go through my origin. But instead of going up 3 and right 1, I'm going to go up 4 and right 1. Up 4 and right 1. And I can see that that line that I'm forming is definitely a lot steeper. The higher you get with your slope over 1, the steeper that line is going to get. So here, our answer choice is A. Its steepness increases. All right, our next question is number 7. A line contains these points. Which of the following points would be on the same line? The easiest way to do this would be to actually graph this. So we're going to go ahead and graph these points that we have there on the line, and we're going to see which of those other points would be on the same line. So in order to graph the point -2, 0, I start the origin. I'm going to go left 2 and up 0. My next one is -1, 1. I'm going to start the origin. I'm going to go left 1 and up 1. My next point is 0, 2. That's actually a y-intercept of 2. I'm going over 0 and up 2. And my next one is 2, 4. That tells me I'm going to go right 2 and up 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see that those points are clearly forming a line. We might be missing some, but we're going to be able to tell from here which of these other points would be on that same line. And I'm going to label them with the answer choice letter. That way we can see which one it is that really works there. So our next one is 4, 6. So I'm going to go over to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, and then up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that is answer choice A. Then I have for B, I have 4, 8. So over 4 and up 2, 4, 6, 8. That's answer choice B. Answer choice C is 4, 2. So over 4 and up 2. And answer choice D is 4, negative 2. So to the right 4 and down 2. If I were to connect these dots, answer choice A, that was our point of 4, 6. That would actually be on the same line. So sometimes a little bit of graph paper and actually working things out can help a lot. All right, so in this one, it says use the information below to answer the following question. A popular Italian restaurant serves chicken parmesan. The graph shows the amount of chicken prepared over a various number of days. And it wants to know how much chicken can the restaurant expect to prepare in 2 weeks. Now, one of the things that's really important with questions is to make sure you read the question and answer choices to begin with. It says, how much chicken can the restaurant expect to prepare in 2 weeks? 500 chickens, 980 ounces, 700 ounces, or 14 days. Since the question's asking how much chicken we can expect to prepare in 2 weeks, our answer is not going to be 14 days. Also, since it says the amount of chicken is in ounces here, not the number of chickens, 500 is not going to be our answer. So in order to figure this out, it's going to be helpful to write an equation. We're going to need to find our slope. I can see clearly some points on this graph. This one would not be a good point to pick because it's right in the middle. It's not on the grid lines. Same for this one and this one. We need points that go perfectly through the grid lines. So this point, this is 10 and 700. And this point, 0, 0, those would be 2 really good points to pick. So we're going to find our slope. So we're going to do our y2 minus y1 over our x2 minus our x1. 0 minus 700 is negative 700. 0 minus 10 is negative 10. A negative divided by a negative is going to give us a positive, and 700 divided by 10 is going to give us 70. This is our slope. So we want to write our equation in slope-intercept form. And luckily we have this graph that's telling us our y-intercept. It is crossing the y-axis right here at 0. So in slope-intercept form, remember slope-intercept form is our y equals mx plus b. We have our y, our slope is 70, and our b, our y-intercept is just 0. Now let's look again what the question is asking. It wants to know how much chicken the restaurant can expect to prepare in 2 weeks. Now our graph, if we look at it, is in days. 2 weeks, that is really 14 days. And our days are our x value. So we're going to substitute that 14 in for x, and we're going to simplify here. 70 times 14 plus 0. So when we do 70 times 14, we're going to get 980. 980 plus 0, that just gives us 980. And again, the amount of chicken is measured in ounces. So in 2 weeks, that restaurant can expect to prepare 980 ounces of chicken. All right, number 9 is just a slope question again. But again, let's go ahead and look at our answer choices first. This graph starts and it is going up from left to right. that's going to tell us that it has a positive slope, meaning we can go ahead and eliminate answer choices A and B because both of those have a negative slope. Now we have a 50-50 shot at getting it right if we were to even just guess. But we're not going to guess, we're actually going to work this out. So I'm going to find 2 points on my graph. I see one here at my y-intercept of -1 and another at 4, 2. Now again, if you want to take those points and write them down and use your formula, that's a perfectly fine way to do it. I'm going to go ahead and draw my slope triangle on the graph. So I'm going to follow again along the roads, and to get from here to here, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3 spaces. Up is in a positive direction. Then I'm going to turn and go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Now when we talk about slope is change in y over change in x, again the change in y, that is your up and down number. So that 3 is what goes on top. The change in x is your horizontal left and right number. That's what's going to go on the bottom, is that 4. So our slope here is 3 over 4, which is answer choice C there. All right, number 10, Christina is scaling one of the cliffs in Yosemite National Park. At 11 a.m., she had climbed 120 feet. By 3 p.m., she had reached an altitude of 300 feet. Find the average rate of change. Well, she's going up this cliff. So if she's going up, we're going to be talking about a positive rate of change here. So again, one of the first things we can do is we can eliminate some answer choices. Since she's going up, we're going to have positive. We can eliminate our 2 negatives. Now, really what they're giving us is 2 points. And so we know at 11 a.m., she'd climbed 120 feet. 3 p.m., she'd climbed 300 feet. Now, we can't really use 11 and 3 in our equation written like that because time's a little weird. It's not counting just normal because it goes up to 12 and starts over. So between 11 and 3, it does tell us that's 4 hours. So we can actually say this is our starting time, that is 0. And then 4 hours later, she's gotten to 300 feet. Now we're going to label, and it wants us to find our rate of change. So our formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, oops, sorry. I'm going to go ahead and fill in the information we know. My y from my second ordered pair is 300. My y from my first ordered pair is 120. My x from my second ordered pair is 4. And my x from my first ordered pair is 0. So 300 minus 120 is 180. 4 minus 0 gives me 4. And if I simplify 180 divided by 4, I get 45. Now notice the units. We do need to understand what these units mean. So I can write this as a fraction just so I can really talk about what this means. 45 over 1. This 300 and this 120. These were her altitude. The 300 and the 120, those were both feet. The 4 and the 0, that was talking about the time. This was hours. This is showing that she's climbing 45 feet every hour. So our answer choice there, our correct answer is going to be C.